Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started.
Triple H became the mastermind behind WWE's creative team under the new regime when Vince McMahon stepped down from his duties in 2022 and eventually left the company last year. Recently, Vince Russo stated that the game has the biggest ego, and he's cementing himself further in the promotion. Industry legends and veterans reacted to WWE Unreal docuseries on Netflix. While the show didn't expose all the industry secrets, Vince Russo was baffled by Triple H's portrayal backstage and the game's constant coddling of his superstars in the promotion. Speaking on Vince Russo's The Brand, the former WWE writer reacted to Triple H's portrayal from the recent show. Moreover, Russo stated that the game is trying to cement himself in the company as the next Vince McMahon, but on a higher level where he cannot be replaced like his father-in-law before him. I think Triple H, with the politics that are going on, I think he's doing everything in his power to cement, I am Vince McMahon. You need me to run this company. Without me, this thing falls apart because as much as this guy has been featured in the spots that he continues to put himself in. Triple H has the biggest ego in the business. I never thought I would say that. There have been egomaniacs in this business. This guy is at a point of being freaking laughable, Russo said. From 6/19 to 7/28. WWE Unreal reportedly tried to portray Triple H as Dana White. WWE Unreal divided fans and veterans, with some praising the series concept and others opposing the break of kayfabe and industry exposure. However, Triple H was the key behind the entire show, as most of it revolved around him and the decisions he made from November 2024 to April 2025, along with the creative team. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, WON, the docu-series' purpose was to make Triple H look like the Stamford-based promotion's version of Dana White. The UFC president has changed the industry and the company for the better, and Meltzer stated the recent show tried to put the game under the same light, but for sports entertainment. The bright lights of WWE are no stranger to over-the-top personas, but when whispers began circulating that Unreal, a docudrama series being pitched to streaming networks, had tried to model Triple H's character after UFC's Dana White, it sent a jolt through the wrestling world. This wasn't just about a surface-level similarity. According to those close to production, the vision was to literally frame the game as WWE's no-nonsense, bald-headed, power-slinging deal-maker who would scream in meetings, cut talent on the spot, and throw verbal chairs at anyone who got in his way. But there was a problem. Triple H isn't Dana White. The pitch that shocked Stamford. It started in early production meetings for Unreal, a behind-the-curtain style WWE series that promised to lift the veil on the creative chaos of pro wrestling. The producers wanted a central figure to anchor the narrative, a charismatic, controversial executive who could be a magnet for drama both on-screen and off. One junior producer, reportedly a huge UFC fan, suggested, "Why don't we just make Triple H our Dana White? He's the face of WWE management now. He's already got the presence. Just crank it up to 11. The pitch outlined scenes of Triple H storming into the Performance Center, calling rookies dead weight, and betting millions on which brand's ratings would spike next. They wanted him shirt-sleeved, in sunglasses, on the phone with network execs, talking about killing the competition in the same way White talks about rival MMA promotions." Triple H's reaction. According to those who saw the early drafts, Triple H didn't just dislike the portrayal, he hated it. Paul Levesque has always been meticulous about his image. While he can play the ruthless authority figure in storylines, behind the scenes he's known as a methodical planner, a mentor, and someone who values diplomacy over bombast. Dana White's style is to go loud, to go public, to stir the pot for headlines, said one longtime WWE insider. Hunter is about keeping the poker face, controlling the flow, and letting the business speak for itself. He wasn't about to let Unreal turn him into some caricature screaming at rookies. The game reportedly sat down with producers and told them bluntly, "You want a reality show? Make it reality. Don't make me into someone I'm not. I'm not here to play Dana White, I'm here to be Triple H." The battle for creative control. What followed was a week-long tug-of-war between WWE brass and the Unreal creative team. On one side, producers argued that a larger-than-life, high-conflict persona would make for binge-worthy television. On the other, Triple H and his allies insisted that blurring reality with an exaggerated, UFC-style CEO could damage WWE's reputation and undermine the real culture he'd been building since taking over creative. Triple H had spent years moving WWE away from the chaotic, cutthroat image it once had, especially during the tail end of Vince McMahon's tenure. He wanted the locker room seen as a place of respect, opportunity, and collaboration, not as a Shark Tank where one phone call could end a career. And while Dana White's fight promoter style worked for the UFC, WWE's brand, in Triple H's mind, was about global entertainment, not boardroom brawls. The compromise. Eventually, a compromise was reached. Triple H would remain the central figure of Unreal, but instead of being portrayed as a loose cannon, he'd be shown as a combat-imposing strategist, someone who could end your career with a single decision, but only after studying the game board from every angle. The new script had him in sharp suits, speaking in measured tones, and always controlling the room without raising his voice. Think Las Vegas fight promoter and more master chess player in a billion-dollar arena. The creative team added subtle moments of intensity, a slammed folder here, a cutting remark there, but removed the over-the-top Dana White-style tirades. Backstage murmurs and wrestler reactions. Word of the early Dana White Triple H concept inevitably leaked to the locker room, and the reactions ranged from amused to baffled. One main eventer joked, "I'd love to see Hunter yelling about pay-per-view buy rates and calling Raw's ratings pathetic. That's not him, but it'd be hilarious." Another star, more cautious, noted, "If they made him look like he's running a fight club instead of a wrestling empire, it could confuse casual fans. The UFC and WWE are totally different worlds. You don't want that crossover image unless it's intentional." Some even speculated that the portrayal was part of a subtle push to make WWE feel more sports league than sports entertainment, perhaps appealing to younger, MMA-savvy audiences. Why the comparison won't go away? The Triple H/Dana White comparison isn't entirely random. Both men run billion-dollar combat sports companies. Both balance talent egos with TV network demands. And both have occasionally been the public face of controversial decisions. But the similarities mostly end there. White thrives on volatility, publicly calling out fighters, swearing in press conferences, and leaning into the chaos. Triple H prefers control, carefully scripting his public comments, playing the long game with talent, and presenting himself as a stable hand on the WWE wheel. Where Dana might throw gasoline on a fire to sell a fight, Triple H might quietly move the fire into a closed room and lock the door until it burns out. The final cut of Unreal. When Unreal finally wrapped its first round of filming, the Triple H that emerged was a hybrid, not quite Dana White, but not the stoic executive fans see at press conferences either. The show leaned into his calculated ruthlessness, showing him making tough calls on talent and storylines, but it balanced that with moments of mentorship, humor, and behind-the-scenes warmth. One scene in particular, Triple H walking a nervous rookie through their first live promo, then telling them, "You belong here," became the emotional heartbeat of the pilot episode. It was a far cry from the original pitch of him screaming into a headset about buy rates and kill shots. And judging by early screening reactions, the WWE Universe seemed to appreciate that the man behind the game was portrayed as layered, not loud. The moral of the story. The whole Dana White Triple H saga is a reminder of something fundamental. In WWE, the character you play in the ring isn't always the one you want representing you outside of it. While Triple H can still be the cold-blooded cerebral assassin on camera, he's fiercely protective of his reputation as a leader who values the long-term health of both talent and company. Had Unreal gone forward with its original UFC-inspired concept, it might have made for compelling television, but it could also have distorted the reality of WWE's modern backstage culture. In the end, Triple H didn't just reject the comparison. He reshaped it into something that stayed true to his vision, proving that while drama sells, authenticity lasts longer. And if you ask those who know him best, they'll tell you, Hunter doesn't need to be Dana White. He's already the game. And in WWE, that's a far more powerful role to play. If you want, I can also write an alternate version where WWE does approve the full Dana White-style Triple H, and the chaos that follows is absolutely over the top and insane. That one would be pure WWE meets UFC mayhem.